everyone, and welcome down to episode number 41. Shane Mumford of the Down South Photo Show. 41, Cam. That's a 4 and a 1.
Shane Mumford, Sydney Swans?
Giants.
Giants. Wow. He's the guy who used to smack everyone, isn't he? The big dude.
Well, he was...
Towards the end, he was just knocking people off. This is not a footy show.
Not a footy podcast.
No.
Not a footy, but episode 41.
Yes.
Before I introduce ourselves, I would like to thank everyone, as per usual, for liking, subscribing, following, commenting, sending us messages. We got heaps of comments on episode 40, which was great.
It is.
Most of it constructive, which is good.
Every time you go for a rant, we get plenty of comments.
Would you like me to tee off again tonight? No, I won't be doing that.
I reckon we are.
So thanks, everyone. A little reminder that subscribing to our YouTube channel is completely free. You just got to click the little subscribe button down below, and away you go.
I thought
it shouldn't be free, though, should it?
I thought you were going to say it's completely compulsory.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. If you're listening, you have to subscribe. Otherwise, we'll hunt you down and ban you.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's what we do on this show.
But we got some really lovely comments during the week from people. I guess it was probably because we hit episode 40 and people were
we did.
Saying nice things about us, which is always good.
Yeah, it was good. And like I said, going back to episode 1 or 2, thinking that we'd make it this far, it's pretty good. And we did all right in the charts these last 2 weeks. We've been almost in the top 10 of visual art listened to podcast in Australia, which still blows my mind.
Look at us go.
So obviously either one, everyone's really bored and running out of things to listen to. Or maybe we're not as bad as we think we are. I don't know.
No, well, whatever. My name's Brendan Waits. Over there on that screen over that side, if you're watching, or in your
ears, left ear, right ear.
Your left ear, if you're listening. I don't know. It's not in stereo. It doesn't. Is Cam Blake down in beautiful Tasmania?
Balmy.
How are you this evening, Cam?
I'm good. We are the rose between two thorns down here today. I was just reading something on the ABC weather news page, whatever it's called. There is a big low system that you guys are copying in Victoria.
Yes.
And there's another low off the other side below South Australia. And we're in the middle. We're not copying this snow behind us, but we've had relatively mild temperatures compared to you guys and not much rain. There is a bit of snow around.
Well, but the last couple of days here in OG have been bitter.
You've got 3 layers. You got 3 layers on.
I do, and a beanie, and my heater's on. If you can hear it whirring in the background, because I've got a really old heater, but that's fine. I don't want to be cold. I've also got UGG boots on, but you can't see those.
No, I can't.
No, thank goodness.
Thankfully.
So, a good friend Mel, a friend of the show, Mel, has picked quite the week to go down the Great Ocean Road.
Hasn't he?
Yeah, it's been the Great Ocean Road has been absolutely pummeled with big swells and
that's probably one of the best times to see it, though, isn't it?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, down here, like we've got the southern coastline, Shipsterns Bluff and all those places where they do lots of huge surf. I'd love to get down there with a big telly and just sit off the coast and just shoot those massive waves smashing into rocks. So Mel's probably he's probably done okay and picked a pretty good time to go there. Well, there's people doing burnouts out in my street here.
That's good. I also heard some technology noises as well.
There is technology noises. I'm dropping that off. Someone's doing so many donuts out there. It's amazing.
Tasmania.
Hey. Tasmania. It's cheap entertainment.
1979 all over again.
Yeah, it's probably like a HZ Premier car, or
it'd better be a Sandman panel van. If it's not, I'll be very disappointed.
There's one driving around down here, and it's got Sandman written on the back. Anyway, we're not a car show or a footy show, so
just a Sandman panel van. I think 2 weeks ago, mint condition, sold for $250,000.
Yeah.
They are getting up there now.
Some of when I was a bit younger, I used to do some photos of all the car shows around Melbourne.
Yep.
So there used to be one out at where Harvey Norman is in Bell Street, Preston. They used to have a big car park out there, and all these old cars back then used to come out, and it used to be awesome to go out and photograph them. Like the old classic cars just make really great photos. That's why they put them in weddings and things like that. But yeah, there used to be a few Sandmans out there and the old Falcons, and
they don't make them like that anymore.
No, they don't. A bit like cameras.
That's a whole nother podcast episode in itself right there.
Yes.
Now, I went out and took some photos this week again.
That's 2 weeks in a row, isn't it?
3 weeks in a row. Well, technically, I went out 3 times and took photos, but
Are you okay? Are you feeling all right? Or?
With my real camera.
Your iPhone, yeah.
Yes, that's right. I went out to and shot what you see behind me, which I'll talk about in a sec. But took out my. So we talked last week about using telephoto lenses to capture landscapes. So
we did.
I put my money where my mouth is, and I went out with my Tamron 150-600 and
shot that from your backyard.
Pretty much went for a wander along 13th Beach, which is a lovely part of the world. If you've been down this way, it's literally just on the other side of Barwon Heads over there.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some really nice swell running, so plenty of surfers out. But I got there at about 20 to 5, so nice sort of golden hour light. And at this time of year, it doesn't last very long at all. Like it's gonski, and it was quite cloudy as well. So when the sun was bursting through the clouds, there's some really good contrast, and it was really lighting up the waves and stuff like that. Thoroughly enjoyed it because I just took my camera and my big lens and walked, and didn't take any other lens, nothing. I just focused on, pardon the pun, focused on using that lens to get some landscapey stuff or some. Did you
practice
stuff.
Did you practice what we preach?
I know, right? What the hell? How many other podcasts would do that?
Not many.
No,
I can't
talk. They're all talk.
Funnily enough, they are. That's it looks nice in the background. I like how you've used a real that sort of shallow depth of field. And are the waves straight though? Are the waves going downhill a bit, or is that?
I don't know if you zoomed out, the horizon's probably straight, but the waves could have been breaking to the beach on a slightly unusual angle, I guess.
That's true. Yeah,
there's actually a surfer just getting on a wave, but you can't see him.
You can see him just starting to break the wave there. That's pretty. And there's another one off to the right, I think, as well.
Yeah, because I use that really shallow. So that when you use the big zoom, it gives the impression of a shallow depth of field because it's such a big zoom. So you get, I think it's known as lens compression.
It is lens compression, yeah. And the further your topic is from its background, the more compressed it becomes, or more. Yeah.
So
those
grasses in the foreground are literally like 5 or 6 inches tall.
Yeah.
And then the surface or the wave behind, I'm going to estimate that's a good 400 to 500 meters away.
Yeah.
Like quite a way out there. So
and again, cool as we discussed last week, that's where you can sort of create a bit of difference in your photos with landscapes. Actually, we got a fair bit of feedback on that last week about using that telephoto. A lot of people sort of came out and said, I love using my telephoto in landscape. So we're not reinventing the wheel as such, but it is a really good habit to get into, is to use your telephoto as much as you can.
Yeah.
As long as the wide stuff as well, but tele just gives it a completely different look on a landscape. So
absolutely. And looking at your background, it would have been very tempting to just telephoto in on those trees on the left and the reflection.
It would be. Yeah, this is a cradle mountain. This is a little tarn, or a little pond, as some people like to call them, which is in the park. And those trees are actually pencil pine trees, so they're probably a good 700-800-year-old trees, maybe a bit younger than that, sitting there. It was a classic no wind, still day, but bitterly cold. And I think there's another. So there's a couple of reflections. I like the sort of 3 reflections in the water there. But this is just one of those times where it didn't matter which way you looked. It was just a shot everywhere. But one of our topics we're going to talk about tonight is relevant to that. And a couple of tips I can give on how to shoot in the snow and what might feel a little bit counterproductive in regards to how you take those photos might be a good tip as well. But this is, Cradle Mountain. This is actually a couple of years ago, but I'm actually heading up to Cradle this weekend again, because we're hoping to get some more snow. So I'm going up there with another fellow photographer, Cam Hadlow, Cam Hadlow Photography on Instagram. He's got some great shots. He's a Sony user, so he's probably used Canon and Nikon at some stage. He actually had an Olympus and sold it.
Right.
So
how about that?
So that's where I am in the background.
I had an Olympus and kept it, and now it's over there on the gathering dust.
Yeah, aren't we doing something with the camera tonight?
So I thought, look, we will. We'll disclose it all right now. We're giving away a camera now. This could come off as a little bit clickbaity, Cam, but let's see what we're actually giving away my camera.
Yeah. I'm actually giving away my Leica M10R with a 35mm.
Wow.
No, I'm not.
that's very generous of you.
Yes. No. The thought process behind this is that we had a camera sitting around, or you had a camera sitting around that you thought would be in better use if it went to someone else who's looking for an upgrade or a second body or a beginner or whatever it might be.
Look, ideally, this would go to someone who currently doesn't have an SLR and might be shooting with a compact camera or their phone, or and who are really keen on landscape photography and want to dip their toe in the water without having to spend a couple of grand. This is my Nikon D5100. Yes, it still works very, very well, and I have shot many landscape images with this. If you go to my website, which is cameraandphoto.com.au, you will see that there's a whole gallery of images shot with this bad boy right here. I love this camera. I just don't use it anymore, and I'm sick of it gathering dust. So I want to inspire someone, a viewer, a listener. Do you
want me to go through some specs for you?
Go for it.
Cool. I just Googled it. I felt like I better contribute somehow. So it's 16.2 megapixel CMOS sensor. So
nothing to be sneezed at.
Nothing to be sneezed at. You know, megapixels isn't everything, as we know. It's got 11-point autofocus. It does HD movies. It doesn't do 4K movies, but that's okay. Does 4 frames a second continuous shooting. So it's a little bit slow, but it's perfect for landscape. It's got higher resolution than its previous model. What else have we got here?
It has a flip screen.
Has a flip screen, which is cool.
Very cool.
What's the lens you're gonna? Is the lens going with it?
The lens is coming with it. This is awesome. A Sigma 10 to 20, and it is the f4 to 5.6 version. Sorry, it's not the f3.5 version, but who cares? We're shooting landscape, so f4 to 5.6. It's a good lens. It's an autofocus lens. It's 10 mil, which so on this camera you're effectively getting a 16 mil wide angle lens in 35 mil full frame speak. So
and it does everything. It does all raw. Does everything.
It does raw shooting. I'll even make sure it's got a memory card in it for you. I'll definitely make sure you get the battery charger and everything like that. It has a strap.
What about a box? Does it come with a box?
It'll come with a carry case.
Okay. So how we've established that we're giving away a camera, but we have not had any discussion about how we're giving it away.
Well, I think what we'd like to do is use because we've just turned over into a new month. It's now June. I think for the month of June, we'll run this. So probably 3 or 4 podcast time, we'll give the thing away. And what we want you to do is go to any of our social media channels. So our Facebook, which will link, everything's linked below, preferably the Down South Photo Show Facebook page or the Down South Photo Show Instagram. We got Instagram? We got Instagram. Have we?
Yeah, we do.
Of course we have.
Yeah, it's rocking. It's about 200 people follow it.
That's right. And we want you to like our page, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also tag someone who might be keen to get their hands on this bad boy. You can tag yourself. We don't mind. But ideally you subscribe to the channel, you follow us on Instagram or Facebook, and you tag someone in a comment. About and just saying, hey, I wouldn't mind winning that camera.
Hey, cool. I would love a Nikon.
Yeah, or whatever you put, we don't mind. But something that references the fact that we're giving away a camera.
And are we going to do what we did last time, where I sit in a room all by myself while you're not there and draw the winner?
No. I tell you what, we're going to do it on a live show in early July. So we will. Okay.
All right.
In early July, we're going to have a live show, and we'll pick a winner. And we'll do it live on the channel. It'll be awesome.
It is an awesome little camera, and I've seen a lot of the 5100s on workshops. And again, it's a 16 megapixel camera, but really it's a great little landscape camera. It takes nice photos. It'd be suited for someone who's a beginner or intermediate. And it has all the things you need: full manual, full auto. It's got some scene modes.
Not massive either. It's like it's a good mid-size. camera.
And that lens is ideal for doing wide angle landscapes. You could use it as portrait lens if you wanted to. You can do it for any interiors.
And the really cool thing is, I reckon, Nikon have moved on now from these cameras. They're making the new Z series cameras.
The Z series,
which is making a lot of their old lenses obsolete, which means there's now a bucket load of these lenses appearing on eBay and places like that for bugger all. So we're going to give you this lens, but if you want to add, a 70 to 300 or something to it, you can get one for bugger all. So that'll fit straight on this camera and work really well. Anyway, as I say, it's a good way for you to dip your toe in the water of landscape photography, and you get a free camera to get yourself started.
So we weren't lying about giving away a camera, were we?
No, we didn't say we're giving away a new camera.
No. I reckon we can work up to that. I reckon we can maybe tap into some of our friends that we know and see if they've got anything they give us to give away. Maybe as an end of year, maybe a big end of year thing or something like that. Big end of year live show. Cool. Or maybe we can give away something at BFOP, the Bright Festival. That'd be a good one to set up for, whether or not you're there or not. Or
we have a lot of. I personally, as I sit here, I look around, I can see about 10 pieces of equipment that I haven't used for 12 months. So including this GoPro, just randomly sitting around. I'm not giving that away.
What have I got around here? I got a drone. I've got a couple of cameras.
It's amazing how much stuff we acquire, and then I don't know. It's like we move on to our new favorite toy, and the old toy sort of just sits there. And
you can have too much stuff.
100%.
And us males especially seem to collect a lot of shit we don't need.
Yes.
Don't tell my wife that, though.
We know it's known as gas gear acquisition syndrome.
Yes, it is.
I have it badly, particularly when it comes to camera gear, lenses, that sort of tripods, all that sort of stuff.
Something we haven't done this episode, and I totally forgot at the start.
I reckon I know where you're coming from.
Yeah. G'day, Chelsea.
Hi, Chelsea.
Hopefully Chelsea's listening to this one. She wasn't too impressed last week about us mentioning her. I tried to count it. I re-listened, and I lost count at about 45 times we said her name.
Okay. But should have put a Chelsea count up on the
ding, ding,
ding. That's right.
Yeah, but the message I got. Well, maybe I did. I don't know if I got a message from her or not, but I sort of felt that she didn't get mentioned enough. She sort of implied that with her message that, So hey, Chelsea, how you going?
Hi, Chelsea. Good. Okay.
And funnily enough, she was watching the last episode in bed again.
Yep.
So
there you go.
Anyway, it's not getting awkward. It's not getting awkward, but if you'd like a shout out, just be like Chelsea and demand one.
I want to have one quick little point of discussion, and I've got to be carefully choose my words here.
We need something like a blow up. We need something to get this like a music. Brendan's rant.
Oh, we need a sting.
Yeah, we need is that what they're called? Is it?
Yeah, no, it's not going to be a rant, people. Just relax.
Pig's ass, it's not.
Powder dry.
All right. You don't rant, I will.
Okay. Well, I'm going to.
No, I won't.
Oh, that's right. We're going to call it Brendan tees off, won't we?
Yeah, Brendan tees. And then we can have like we can have a golf swing. It's starting to sound like Anyway, what's going on?
I am so sick to death of people using my photos to promote their businesses without asking me and without putting a photo credit without asking me full stop. I mean, even if you do put a photo credit underneath to say that it was mine, if you haven't asked me, bloody hell, it's annoying, Cameron. Is this happened again? Stuff. That's my stuff. I work hard to take these photos, and these people just walk in and just, it's on Facebook, so I can use it. No, it's not. Learn copyright. That is incorrect.
Yes. You're starting to sound a bit like Lynn Lavender then when you started whinging.
Was I?
Yeah, a little bit. You really listened to
another mother.
It is. Yes, that is very frustrating, and I have sort of been on the sideline watching this develop over the last week. That Brendan's had an image of his. It's illegally used. It's not legally obtained and legally permissioned to use. Correct. So the person or peoples who have used this have used it to promote their own business, which they're most likely making money out of, which makes it even worse. It's a bit. I think there's a couple of levels of where you go with this. If it's a person that just says, "Oh, I love this photo," I love that photo camera, just shares it on their page. It says Cradle Mountain with no credit. That's okay to me. That's a bit annoying, but that's okay. They're appreciating the work. But if it was a business or like a hospitality or something like that, where they'd say, "Hey, this is Cradle Mountain. Our hotel's just up the road. Come stay with us. We make all the money, and you'll get to see stuff like that without any credit or any, any sort of payment." That's wrong, and it's not a good way to do business. And in this situation, it sounds like someone or someones who are going to make money out of their business are using your image without permission. So what steps did you take after you cooled the fires down a bit after you?
So I emailed this person because it wasn't hard to find their email address because, my image was used on their business's Facebook page. So that was pretty easy.
Well, that's half the job done for you.
The main thing I did was, look, and I hate that I should have to do this, but I gathered evidence. I got took screen grabs of the photos.
Yeah.
They were used on Facebook and Instagram. So I got a screen grab of both of those. Yeah. Attached them to an email, basically a cease and desist email. And along with that, I put a little invoice for the work. And yeah, I've had a bit of backwards and forth with them. Anyway, I'll keep you posted on how.
So have they paid the invoice?
Plays out. Of course they haven't.
Okay.
But we will see. I'm not letting this one go. I plan on making an example of this person because it's not right, and I'm so sick to death. And it's been happening to me for literally ever since I've been a professional photographer.
And do you think in this situation, do you think it's more ignorance, or do you think it's just don't care, don't respect?
I think there's a very, very high level of ignorance. And I know that this person was told by another photographer to stop using their work as well. And then they went ahead and used my work. So yeah. Anyway, we'll as I'm loath to name names. I won't be naming.
Yeah, we won't name and shame. What's disappointing to me is how that's happened to me, and it's happened to many others that I know. What's disappointing to me is that when you do approach them, it's almost a scoff. It's like, oh, really? Like, it's just a photo.
Yeah.
Right. It'd be like someone come around to fix your house, fix your plumbing, and going, I'm not paying you, but I'll take a photo and tell people that you did the work. It doesn't work like that. Your livelihood is selling photos, among other things.
Yeah.
Then people should pay for the use of that. It's your property, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's just annoying. And I know a lot of people, and maybe some of our viewers are the same. Some of them might say, oh, you're just overreacting, or, what do you get your knickers in or not? And then there's the other scale of things where people say, hey, I'd love people to use my images, but I can't get my work out anywhere. Yeah. And like there's a bit of a funny scale there, but yeah, it's just inappropriate. And like I said, if it's a business, and that business, and knowing which business it is, they should know a lot better than to take people's artwork. But it's just disappointing. And then the fact that they're going back and forth instead of apologizing and just saying, yes, sorry, my mistake. Absolutely, we'll pay you for the use of that image. Yeah. They're dragging it on. So hopefully it gets resolved.
Yeah.
Who knows? Next week you might rock up in a Mercedes or something like that with the payout.
Yeah. No. In fact, the amount of the invoice, it's pretty much irrelevant, but it's the principle of the matter. It's not even a lot of money, but as I say, it's the principle of the matter, and I'm sick to death of it. So much so that I'm going to add a disclaimer on my website underneath my photos that says as much. Basically, it says, if you want to take my image and use it, how can I word it nicely? If you want to take my image and use it for your own financial or personal gain, no problem. You will be getting an invoice from me. And it will need to be paid. So I can't believe I have to do that.
Especially now, like we had that issue down here a few years ago, which I've spoken about tourism, Tassie using images when they shouldn't have and stuff like that. And that sort of blew out of control, where there was invoices going everywhere around Hobart and Tasmania. Every poor soul that put up a photo that had a small Airbnb or something like that, they were getting, it really made the point that, hey, you know what, this is our images. You're using it for your business to make money.
Yeah.
Where's our cut of the cake, So,
exactly.
You would think by now that enough people would know. And again, not referencing who it is, but they should really know better. So hopefully
it just misrepresents me as a photographer, because this business in particular is not a business that I'm interested in doing business with.
Yeah.
Nothing against the business per se, but it was just not something that I'd be interested in doing business with. So when you see your work used like that, it's really, really upsetting. It's just so annoying, because as I say, a lot of hard work, people go, oh, well, all you did was in the case that it's a drone photo, all you did was launch your drone and take a photo. No, I have 30 years of experience that taught me when to take that photo and the angle to use and how to compose it.
And I had to buy a drone.
The $4,000 worth of gear that went into actually taking that photo, the time it took to get there, to launch the drone, to edit the photo, to, you know, no, we're just going to take that for free.
And that's the thing as well. I think if we go back an episode or two talking about how the value of photography's been just destroyed through social media, this is one of the byproducts of that, is that all of a sudden, you know, 20 years ago, if you were putting shots up, people would say, hey, I love that shot. I want to use it for my business. That would have been the normal approach. Now it's like, oh, it's online, I'll just take it. It's like, well, no. So hopefully it gets resolved. You know, hopefully in a way it doesn't. So we have another Brendan teeing off next week, but
no. It's all good.
Cool. All right, let's move on. We can strike that out the way now. We can put a strike through that. Okay.
Yes. We are recording this on the first day of winter.
Yes, we are.
It is June the 1st that we are recording. This will go out on, I think, June the 3rd. So we thought it'd be poignant to have a little bit of a chat about winter photography. Now, hand in the air here, I reckon I've taken 3 photos in the snow ever. I don't find myself in the snow a lot. So,
right. No. We'll give it a couple of more hours. You might have it in your backyard.
You could be right, man. The way we're going, it's absolutely crazy. So winter photography from Cam, your point of view would be what you see behind you in your image there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you said off the top that you might have a couple of tips for people who might want to take photos.
And it's funny you say that you haven't shot in snow much, but there's a few things that you do when you're shooting snow that help improve your output of images. But it's actually quite similar if you're shooting at beaches or dunes, because they're what they call high key scenes. So generally there's scenes that have a lot of white or a lot of bright light, or bright skies with fog, and you know, in the background here you got all the snow. Same with you on sand dunes, you have that bright sand and the blue sky. So what you're technically meant to do is actually sort of trick your camera a bit as to thinking that it's not where your camera wants to meter. Generally, your camera tries to meter on the midtones, but sometimes if you're in a high key scene of sand dunes or snow and things like that, the camera can actually overcompensate and make things a bit darker. So as a rule of thumb, I usually overexpose by about a stop when I'm shooting in snow scenes. And what that does, it just tricks the camera a bit to say that, no, this is actually a high white key scene, and please meter that accordingly. So what it does, it shifts your whole histogram a bit more to the right. So all your highlights become really nice and bright, and, you know, the snow is proper white. You don't get that sort of gray, dirty snow look. But it works the same with sand dunes and beach stuff. But a lot of people think, geez, it's a really bright scene, I might have to underexpose a whole heap. Push it the other way. Actually sort of overexpose it to give your camera a bit more of a boost, because your camera is going to get really confused because it's metering off an entire scene of highlight. It's not going to do well. So that's my little advice I give to guys in workshops if we get lucky enough to get snow like that, is actually bump your exposure up a little bit more. Overexpose it a tad. You can still adjust it obviously in editing and stuff like that, but it just seems to render everything a nicer kind of highlight than what it normally would. So, but there's a lot of tips for shooting winter as well. I find, especially down here in Tassie, it's been quite funny today. You guys have been copying all the weather, and we've had snow in the alpine regions of Victoria and down here as well. And on my little Facebook, I get messages saying, "Hey, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 3 years ago, my whole thing today was snow." So
you must have had a big snow dump back at the start of winter.
I've found since living here in Tassie and keeping an eye on things around Australia, the weather repeats itself. So if you get a really big snow dump on the alpine region of Victoria or down here or wherever you might be, put a little mark in the calendar, because I can guarantee you it won't be far off again the next year. And I've found that's worked really well for me, is planning well ahead and taking notice of what goes on with the weather, making sure you're warm and having enough warmth, making sure you let people know where you go, because it's quite easy to get lost in snowfields. And I know Tom Putt, our mate, who's on the other side of the bay from you, he's got a really good story about getting lost up in Kosciuszko, I think it was, and he ended up bunkering down. And he woke up in the morning, he was about 2 meters from the road. He couldn't even see the road. He went, "I better set my tent up. I don't know where I am."
Wow.
Maybe we'll get him on the show one day to tell us that story. But
I'm sure he's an avid listener.
Guarantee he's been sending me messages all through this episode, unfortunately. So things like that, watch the exposure, keep warm, but make sure you let people know where you're going. Just be mindful also. One of the big things we find on workshops is when people go back to their hotel rooms, we've got cameras that, between going outside to the hot interior of your cabin or restaurant, you get that condensation build up in your bag. Try not to leave your camera somewhere where it's going to sort of sweat after it gets back in, because that'll create moisture and potentially cause you issues. So I always say to people, when we get back to our room, take your camera bag, put it in the bathroom, or take it all out and just leave it on the bench in the bathroom, let it acclimatize to the temperature, and before you go sticking it away in your bag. And then you also get that same issue if you're in and out of a car. You get out of the warm car, you grab your camera out of the bag, it's out of a 25-degree interior of a bag to -3 or 4, just fogs up. So I always sort of keep my camera out more than I do in, just to keep it sort of at that same temperature the whole time. So, but winter photography is good fun. If you get the right conditions, you just get some incredible shots.
Yeah.
Hello,
everyone. This is Brendan from Ocean Grove Camera and Photo. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. I'm just cutting in for a quick second for a really short little plug for Camera and Photo. That's www.cameraandphoto.com.au. We have a complete online printing service. We send prints to all over the world. But of course, they're printed right here in Australia, and we can ship prints to your door if you go to cameraandphoto.com.au. Back to the show. A quick story. When I say I haven't shot snow, I have. My first real adventure, though, with snow was actually in the French Alps in the early 2000s.
Talk about name dropping.
And I was working there. So, and I got a photography gig when I was there. I couldn't believe it. Had to take photos of these new chalets that have been built in the in the French Alps. Anyway, the dude who hired me wanted some aerial photos of the town. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'll get to go up in a light plane. And he says, no, we're going to put you up on a parapente. Paraponting is where you ski off a cliff under a parachute.
Jeez.
So, yeah.
Did you do that?
I did. I did a tandem parapente with this guy so we could get these shots.
Wow.
I've
never heard this story before.
Yeah. And there's video footage of it kicking around somewhere. I'm sure I could dig out at some point.
Right.
Anyway, we got skiing, and I had a Nikon F80, so I was shooting film.
Yeah.
And it froze.
Oh no.
Yep, the shutter just froze. So, and what it turned out, as I discovered later, was in the shutter box mechanism, they use a fine oil in there to keep it lubricated. That froze.
Yeah.
So luckily, I had my very early
iPhone
Fuji Z602Z digital camera.
Right.
I bought for about $3,500 back then. 3.2 megapixel that could interpolate to 6 megapixel. So, hey, and it ran on smart media. So remember that?
Did it run on double A's?
It ran on 4 AA batteries, and it ran on smart media cards. I'll put a picture of a smart media card up here for all you nostalgia buffs who don't know what I'm talking about. And you could run it on a very early compact flash card as well. Anywho, that little thing saved my butt because I was able, because I had them both down my jacket, big ski jacket. I pulled out, as I say, my film camera had frozen, and the digital camera got the shots for me. So
was the guy French that you were strapped onto?
Yes.
Did you explain to him that? How did you explain that my camera's not working?
In very, very bad French. As bad as my French was as bad as his English was. But and it was.
That's funny.
Oh, look, I don't know. Look, this is irrelevant, but we ended up, because we were flying. It was a little town called Mirabel. If anyone knows where that is in the French Alps, it's part of the Three Valleys. And we had to land wherever we could land because we're not under power. We are literally floating down over this town.
Yeah.
And he landed us in the churchyard, and the police were there waiting for us.
Fantastic.
The local gendarmes turned up, and he copped a nice little fine for landing in the churchyard. And apparently he was a serial offender for landing in there. Not only you're supposed to land at a park and blah, 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 but we were coming down. So anyway.
I'm looking at Maribel in France. That's fantastic. It looks
absolutely
beautiful.
Gorgeous little
town.
Yeah,
what a spot. Yeah.
It's your quintessential French Alps town.
Yeah. Meribel, if anyone wants to Google it.
Meribel.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, actually, funny you say that about doing aerial shots, because I'm actually meant to be heading off tomorrow morning. Fingers crossed, if the weather's good, I'm heading off to do an aerial flight up and over the overland track.
An aerial flight, as opposed to
an aerial
flight.
Parachute. Well,
yeah. Man,
I
don't know why I picked you up on that. What a bastard.
Well, what is it? An aerial what?
You're doing a flight.
Or I'm doing an aerial.
You're taking aerial photos.
But aerial doesn't necessarily nominate that it's in a plane. That's why you have to put flight.
Okay. Well, yeah. We'll move on.
Anyway, I'm doing an aerial
flight
venture hopefully over the overland track to try and get some cool photos. So yeah, doing that tomorrow morning.
Over the overland. That'll be
cool. We're thinking we're going to fly out of Hobart, head up sort of over the middle, and then turn around and come back down the overland track and then back to Hobart. So hopefully be great to get some beautiful shots of that track I've walked so many times, all the mountains and stuff. So fingers crossed the weather gods play for us and we can get up there and do it.
What are other conditions forecast to be tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow,
which is now in the past for people who are listening to this now.
It's meant to be frosty. So there's meant to be quite a heavy frost up the middle of Tassie tomorrow. So that's clear skies.
Yes.
So hopefully that is enough to get us, through to the mountains as well. So fingers crossed. This has just come about from, actually, funnily enough, that we're flying over the overland track. This is a customer's husband who's a pilot who happened to walk the overland track with us. She says, "Oh, you should catch up with my husband and talk to him." I said, "Oh, yeah, why is that?" "Oh, he's a pilot." I'm like, "He's my friend. Let's go talk."
That's right. Yeah. Oh, you mean that guy? Yeah, sure.
That guy, yeah, I love him. So yeah, we're going to try. Fingers crossed. So next episode, if we do get some shots, I'll tell you all about it. But Windsor photography is great. For people that are around the ski fields, I find, Mount Hotham's great. Dinner Plain's really great for the snow gums and the old huts up there. Mount Buffalo is stunning under snow if you can get up to there.
Yes.
Kosciuszko's
Mount Buffalo has snow right now for people playing along at home.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Mount Baubor's a really nice one for photos too.
Yep.
Lake Mountain, which isn't far from Melbourne as well, has some really good little pockets. And if you're here in Tassie, Mount Field National Park, if you can get up the top, if it's not closed, is really great. Mount Wellington, it's a bit of a shame though. Any sniff of snow or ice, they shut that road down.
Yeah.
But things like the Harts Mountains, which are about an hour and a bit from Hobart, or, you can come to Cradle on the weekend and see how we go up there. But yeah, be careful. It's a different environment. It's got its own little dangers, people driving and slippery tracks and things like that. You don't want to be tripping over in the snow and hurting yourself. So, but it is a beautiful experience to do it. But keep your camera dry, keep it constant temperature, overexpose a little bit. Use your polarizer. I always use my polarizer to get those reflections and a bit of the glare off the snow as well. And just have fun. Make a snowman. Be good.
And for those of you who aren't as fortunate as our learned friend down in Tasmania to have all these amazing places on the doorstep, for people like myself who've got the coast to fall back on, winter is a great time of year for big oceans, for angry oceans, for big swells. And that's when we get all our big waves coming through and that sort of stuff, which in itself, now particularly, again, we talk about the Great Ocean Road a lot, but it is ruggedly beautiful at this time of year, even though you get grey days and drizzle. And
but they're the kind of days that, to me, like, they're the ones that really give you those incredibly epic shots.
Yeah.
It's those days where you're like, I shouldn't be out here, when Mother Nature's testing you to your limit. They're the ones where you just get those great shots all the time. And I'd love to go to the Oregon coastline in the States.
Yeah.
All those, you see those classic shots of these massive waves breaking over the rocks, and
or the Pacific coast in BC. So Vancouver Island, those sort of places.
So yeah, so don't discount coastlines and wild weather. Now, question for you in regards to coastlines: are you able to sort of predict? Like I sort of feel like I can predict when we're going to get good snow dumps. Are you able to look at the weather forecast and go, yeah, we're going to get a big swell here? Or
well, because we my area is also known as the surf coast. We get surf reports every 5 minutes on all kinds of channels and stuff like that.
True.
And particularly because I'm into my photography and the community I work in, there's a lot of great photographers in this area. And someone will always say, hey, the swell is going to be mint tomorrow at Point Lonsdale or big waves coming through at Port Campbell or,
that's funny.
And then you end up jostling for position. But, hey, that's fine.
It's funny you say that because the same thing happens down here in Tassie when there's going to be a big snow dump.
Yep.
Yeah, there's little murmurs go out on social media. Same with the Aurora. There's little murmurs that go out and the community goes, oh, good. And you'll think, and straight away, I think, where haven't I been where I don't think anyone else is going to go? I'll go there and guarantee you get there and someone else has had the same thought and they're sitting there in a little deck chair or they're rugged up. It's good fun. But yeah, winter's a great season to shoot. Waterfalls are always in full go. Everything's nice and green and lush. Yeah. Like you said, the weather's a little bit more wild. You generally get those nice frosty, foggy mornings, depending where you are, which is cool. So,
which leads me to one other thing. It is time for me to get back up into the Otways. So that's stay tuned, folks. Pretty much the next 2 weeks, I will be up in the Otways chasing a few waterfall shots.
I've got an idea for you.
Go on.
I know it's weird, me having an idea. So I go to Flinders Ranges soon.
You do?
I do, and I get back into Melbourne around about the 19th or 20th of June.
Yes.
Maybe we should catch up before I go back to Tassie and go to Otways, do some waterfalls or something.
Very good idea.
Do you know when you're going?
No.
Okay. We'll liaise.
My days at the moment are a day-to-day basis, given the running of the shops and all that sort of stuff.
And all the legal proceedings.
And also the weather. So, but... Yeah. I'm actually planning in July, early August. I'm actually doing some mountain biking in the Otways with a friend of mine, and we're actually going to be riding right by Hopeton Falls.
Oh yes,
and the Redwoods up there. So we're going to, go and check all that out on bikes. But this time around, I want to take the camera back up the Otways. I've been up there a lot, but I've always gone up there with family, like we would do hikes and stuff like that, which is great. And I absolutely love that. It's brilliant time with the kids. Yeah. But there's always that, we should move on. Gee, that would make a great photo, all that sort of stuff. I really want to go up there and spend a day. Probably I'll try and get to somewhere where I haven't been before. And there are a couple of waterfalls that I've never been to. So I'm keen to, and again, it's like a 90-minute drive. It's just up the road. So go and do that.
It is great, and I'm sure maybe that's something we can ask our listeners and viewers to put a little comment somewhere down below. But like what their favorite, or maybe just what's around them. I'd love to know where people are, because everyone's got these incredible little backyards that you sort of take for granted a bit. You think, it's just down the road. I've been there 1,000 times, but for someone who's never been there before, I've like the Otways. I think I've only been to the Otways once or twice. Yeah, and I was really impressed with it when I was there last time, but. Yeah, it'd be great to know some viewers. I know we have David who lives out in the Grampians, who had a few mentions on the show. Like the Grampians, I've only been to the Grampians once or twice when I was at school. Yeah. They're an incredible spot.
The Grampians are nuts, mate. They're absolutely beautiful. Speaking of snow, they had snow on Mount William in the Grampians yesterday.
Right. Okay.
That'll get snow on it at least once a year. Hopefully it happens again, because that's another spot that I'd love to get to as well. Yeah. The Grampians has got a real aura about it, a real vibe about it. Okay. There's a lot of Aboriginal heritage sites there as well, which are fantastic to see. Yeah. And there's some real rural Victoria in the foothills. So a lot of farms, and you get the sheep in the paddocks and all that. So it's so cool. And a lot of those, which I've mentioned a couple of weeks ago, which I've got a thing for, and that is the single gum tree in the middle of a paddock. There's something about those eucalypts that just rock.
And then you can just drop a sky in the background to make it look whatever you like.
You can with your iPhone.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Did we say hi to Chelsea yet?
Chelsea. Oh, you mean at Chel May Bell?
Yes.
I don't think we did.
Hi, Chelsea.
She'll be pissed off I haven't said hello.
Yeah.
G'day, Chelsea. Sorry.
You told me that you would say hello to her.
I keep forgetting. Yeah, I'll get another 1,000 messages this week.
It's time for everybody's favorite segment of the Down South Photo Show, and that's Dear Cam. Dear Cam is back. If we encourage people to send in a question that they might have about photography. Now, it doesn't have to be landscape photography. It could be about any kind of photography. It can be about an issue you're having with your camera. It might be something to do with editing. You might have a suggestion. Yeah. Dear Cam, this comes from Alison. Where's Alison from, Cam? Do we know?
No, I've closed my emails down. I'm thinking, no, what am I thinking WA for? I haven't got anything. I can't. Sorry, Alison.
Cheryl's from W.
Yeah, sorry.
Even I remember that.
You asked the question, and I'll sort of see if I can.
Dear Cam, hopefully this question will be easier than my question on extension tubes. So Alison's a serial offender.
I was going to say she's a repeat offender.
This is good. I've heard a rule of thumb for handheld is, obviously for handheld photography, is to make the shutter speed the same as your focal length. I have an Olympus OMD Mark V. OMD, I'm sorry, I reckon that's an OMD EM5 Mark II.
I was going to say she's well ahead of us if she's got a Mark V.
That's right. With the Zuiko Pro lenses, very nice lenses. Is the rule the same for micro 4/3 cameras? Thanks, Alison.
That's a really good question.
It is a good question.
That is a really good question. So Alison's right. There is a rule of thumb that back in the day that if you were shooting, 50 mil focal length, that you try and match your shutter speed to 1-50 of the second. So the rule of thumb used to be try and match your focal length to your shutter speed. Now on the Olympus system, because it's technically a half frame, that's a really good question. I don't know if I know the answer to that. I'm going to say that the rule should still apply if you're shooting at 12 mil. No, I don't think it does apply. I'm going to say no.
No, I think what you're going to have to do is multiply it by 2 first.
Yeah, and
then set it. Yeah, because of the crop factor. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Well, I could be wrong too, but that straight off the cuff, I reckon that's what.
No, I think you're right, because I was just doing it through my head there. If you were shooting on the 12 to 40 Pro lens, and you're shooting at 12 mil, according to that, that's the equivalent of 24 mil. Yeah. You're not going to want to handhold that at a 12th of a second. You want to have that about 20th of a second. So I would say that the rule, you would have to double your focal length. So I think if that rule applies, I'm going on a ramble here because I think I got it. I think that rule would apply if you convert everything back to 35 mil or full frame sizes. So it'd be the same if you're using like an APS-C sensor and stuff like that.
Yeah. But I'm only nodding like this. I don't. It sounds right. It sounds like that's how it should. How that rule of thumb should work. Yeah,
I'm gonna say it should. Because again, if you're shooting, there's a 8 to 25 Pro lens that OM Digital do.
Yeah.
8, that's a 16 mil lens. You're not going to be wanting to shoot that an 1/8 of a second. So I would say just double the focal length or convert the focal length back into full frame lengths.
Yeah, which then means you'd be technically holding it at 1/18 of a second, or say round it to 1/20th.
Yes.
And people would say, wait, 1/20th of a second. But what you've got to realize is how freaking wide angled that thing is.
Yeah, that's right.
So you can actually get away with pretty low shutter speeds handheld, aside from the fact that these days the image stabilization systems in these cameras also kick in to really help you stabilize shots as well. So there is that as well. I don't know about this. I'm not sure about this rule. I don't know that it holds up.
Well, I think that rule now is a little bit redundant. I'm just having a quick read on one of these forums I look on as well, and these questions come up as well, and they've all said the same thing that we've now determined. But I think that rule was very much required when you were shooting film handheld, because we didn't have image stabilizers before digital time. Now that we've got digital stabilizers in lenses and in sensors and bodies and stuff like that, I think that rule doesn't necessarily get thrown out the window, but I think it becomes a little bit more liberal in regards to how slow you can shoot handheld. So I still try and keep that rule. But then again, as well, with practice, if you've been shooting as long as some of us have, you can hand hold like a 15th of a second pretty steady, without even image stabilizer. So it's all a bit of practice. But to answer Alison's question, I would say, just double that focal length as a safeguard. The OMD Mark V doesn't have as great a stabilization as some of the more higher end models as well. So I think it's a bit of a safeguard. I'd be saying, look, if you're shooting the 12 to 40, if you're shooting at that 12 mil thing, shoot around about the 24th of a second. If you're shooting at 40, you want to shoot around about an 80th of a second. So the rule's the same, but you just got to double the focal length.
And just as a little aside to that, when I do workshops, particularly for beginners, I always talk about 1/60th of a second being the number where for me, getting older, not as steady as I used to be, 1/60th of a second is the magic number where I would switch to a tripod rather than trying to continue to shoot handheld. Below 1/60th, for the simple reason that it might look nice on the tiny little screen on the back of your camera, but you put it on a big screen or you get an A1 print done of it and you'll go, yes, that's not sharp at all.
Yeah, exactly right. So ideally, if you can get on a tripod as often as possible when you can. But in those situations where you are hand holding, try and just use that rule of thumb for micro four thirds, double that focal length to match your shutter speed. And Alison's from Melbourne as well, by the way.
Hello, Alison from Melbourne. And to that end, I'm assuming an APS-C size sensor is roughly a 1.6 times multiplication. That's right. So it just makes that rule of thumb a little messy. That's all.
But the principle's still the same though. It's just how you calculate it, just to make sure that you get it. But that's a really good question, and and it's one that people should know about as well, because one of the things I get a lot is people like, oh, it's just not sharp, or it's just not this before they sort of get stuck into what we're doing. It's like, okay, well, we're here to shoot sunset. We're getting late afternoon, the light's dropping off, and you're still hand holding. What's your shutter speed at? And so many people are like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. What is it? And it's like, well, what does it sound like? Does it sound really ching, or does it like ching? Yeah. I don't know. And I try and teach people to listen more so to look. Like if it sounds slow, it is slow. So so it's a good one to know. So when you start hearing that shutter speed just sounding a little bit lagged, chuck it on a tripod. Or just chuck it on a tripod as much as you can and problem solved.
Exactly. I mean, we're normally working at pretty high aperture values and so small openings, which means there's not a heap of light coming in there. So you're going to have long shutters. That's why you got to use a tripod.
Here's a wild thought just out of nowhere. You know how we love Do You Cam?
Yeah.
Why are we not rewarding people that ask Do You Cam questions?
Because this podcast doesn't make any money.
Okay, just making sure.
Not that that's what it's all about, folks.
Not sponsored by Canon, Nikon.
That is not what it's all about.
Well, maybe
when we get a sponsor.
Well, maybe like I'm happy to sponsor the show.
Maybe I think the eagle-eyed viewer might have actually noticed a little ad for camera and photos snuck into this podcast somewhere. So it might have just very, very no. Well, there as well. But
are you doing paid adverts in between our shots?
Paid.
I know what you've done, you cheeky bastard. I know what you've done.
What?
When you flip through screens, you flip through another one and you put a promo on. You cheeky bastard.
Did not do anything of the sort.
Bullshit.
Nothing of the sort.
You know what? I think from now on, any Dear Cam camera question, I'm going to give someone like an 8x12 print.
Okay. If you have a Dear Cam question, please send it in to us via the links below or comment somewhere. Just start it with Dear Cam. We'll know what it's there for. Yep. And that guy over there in Tasmania will sort out an 8x12 print.
Yep. And I'll send it to you.
And they can choose?
No.
Okay. Cam will choose a photo for you and he will send you.
I'll sign it.
Is it a photo of you?
Yeah, it's me. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
No, that's a photo of us on the last golf day.
Did you buy that red hoodie just so you could stand out in your own photos and be popular on Instagram?
You know what? Tonight's been the most lackluster effort of getting ready for this show ever. I was
You're telling me.
I was sitting on the couch. I'm like, shit, I got to go do this in 5 minutes. So I didn't get changed. I haven't done my hair. I've never had a shower today. I've been really busy today. I've had so much on today.
Well, the snow in the background and the whitish beard and the red top. I mean,
maybe Alison can have this one. That's not going to work, is it? Look, there it is.
There you are.
Upside down.
Upside down, Miss Jane. Very nice.
So I printed that for a customer, but then that's a too small a frame.
Yeah.
But I've got a lot of prints here. I just print stuff. I've got lots of 8x12s and stuff like that. So if you've got a Dear Cam question, email it through to us. If we pick your question, I'll send you a signed 8x12 shot from Tassie. You don't get to choose because that's just being cheeky. Yeah.
And if you would like to run a 30-second advert on the Down South Photo Show, please get in contact with me.
Really? We're doing ads. Are we allowed to do that though?
We can do paid advert. We just say at the start that this includes a
but don't YouTube
photographic related, please.
Yeah, but
I'm not going to sit here and advertise some IGA supermarket in Broken Hill. Sorry,
but don't YouTube choose the ads, not us.
No, we can put our own.
You can.
Yeah, I'm sure we can.
Have you researched
this? Need to say at the start that
are we going to get into more legal trouble?
Probably. I hope so.
Right.
Cameron, what have you got coming up this week or in the next between now and when we have another podcast recording?
Hopefully in a light plane tomorrow, flying over the epic peaks of Tassie.
That I'm looking for. I want shots tomorrow.
Doing an aerial job.
Yeah, doing an aerial flight.
Well, yeah. Anyway. Says the man who made 12 points in Stableford today.
13.
Oh, sorry.
Excuse me.
What have I got coming up? So yeah, that's going to do a quick trip to Cradle Mountain, try and capture some of this. So if you're at Cradle Mountain on the weekend when you're listening to that, say good day. And then late next week, I head off to Flinders Ranges to do my first Flinders Ranges workshop. We've actually just released new dates for 2023. We sent out a newsletter.
Doesn't it sound weird to say 2023? What the hell?
I've got people asking me about 2024. I'm like, what? That's miles away. I'm like, no, it's not. So we've actually just released some dates in June and September for 2023. For $500, you can pay a deposit and hold your spot and then pay the balance later on. So if you're not part of my newsletter, sign up to that at tazphoto.com.au. Do you get them?
Newsletter? I think so.
Right.
They go to my spam, but I get them.
That's where most things go for me. So that's it for me this next week and a bit. What about your good self? Are you?
So we had a new staff member start at Camera and Photo last week.
How did they go?
Very, very well, thank you.
They watching the show yet?
Probably not. Very busy person. That's fine. I'm not going to name them in case it doesn't work out. And
is it a boy or a girl?
It is a female. She's wonderful. She's doing a visual arts degree at the moment.
Yes, that's awesome.
Great. Yeah. And keen to do a bit of retail work for me, which is really, really good and quite the relief because I've been burning the candle at both ends and I've only got one pair of hands, so I was going to be burnt out. So good to get a new staff member on board. Hopefully.
And is she employed to do front of house sort of retail stuff, or is she printing or? No,
across the board. So she'll be doing front of house retail, helping people to print photos through our photo kiosks, and also selling frames.
There's a job I don't miss.
Oh yeah, it has its moments. I tell you, that's why my staff are very transient when it comes to it. Although I mean, normally they get to about 4 or 5 years, and it's like, yeah, I think I've had enough of showing the exact same lady how to run that photo kiosk every time. So,
or man.
Yes, absolutely. But I just don't know why I was sexist and used the lady.
Speaking of sexist, before we go, I did want to make it.
You want to be sexist?
Yeah, why not? We've got another legal document. There was a bit of a controversy happened. We didn't really get into it, but maybe we'll roll this over to next week. There was a bit of controversy on Instagram the other day.
You mentioned this.
I did mention that. Yeah, you
mentioned it to me off air anyway.
I did. There's a lady I've met online a few times. I think I've spoken to her. She actually booked a spot on one of my trips as well, I think, at one stage, who did pretty well in one of the recent photo competitions, got some highly commendable certificates and well done. You did a good job. But the backlash that this poor lady has received from purely other male photographers about her and about how she's got to where she is in her photography career and how the photos she was putting up weren't worthy. Like, it was absolutely effing disgraceful what these people sent through to this poor lady. And you know, I can not that you can understand it, but, you know, you could sort of see some point of view if the photos are really, really poor photos that were winning, and you think, oh, hang on a sec, there's something dodgy going on there. Her photos are spectacular. Like there's no reason for anyone to suspect anything. And there's about 4 or 5 of them. And thankfully she screenshotted all the little comments she got, and they were putrid comments. Like these people should not be in our community at all.
Absolutely abhorrent behavior.
It's just shitful. It really is. So I just wanted to shout out to her. I know I'm not going to name her and all that kind of stuff because that might be embarrassing for her, but she got a lot of support from a lot of people, myself included, which is great. And we pretty much stamped out these people. They've all gone down to ground. And
I tell you, man, it's social media. It's become the most antisocial thing on the planet. And
it is 100%.
It's so bad. I use social media a lot, as you know, Cam, to promote camera and photo, to promote my business. I don't use Facebook so much for a personal thing anymore. It's more business. I've actually turned to Twitter for that, and sometimes I wonder why the hell I did that as well, because
you're quite productive on Twitter.
Twitter is an absolute cesspool. It's just awful. Yeah. Anyway, that's a topic for another day. But
it is. But I think it's just, you know, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. This poor lady's been, and she's handled it very well. Hopefully, mental health wise, hasn't been too affected. I think she's pretty strong-willed, so I don't think she's been too affected by it, but it's just crap. So if you're thinking of doing something like that, people, if you don't like something you see of someone's photos and you can't say anything nice about it, just leave it, move on.
I think 99.9% of our community is on our side with that. Yeah. So which is great. So cool. Yeah, play nice out there, people. Yeah. Don't forget about our camera giveaway. So it basically starts from when this podcast goes live on Friday. Yeah. We want you to jump on our social media. As I say, it's all linked below. Yeah. You need to subscribe to our channel. You need to like one of our pages, either on Facey or Insta. And preferably you would tag someone and leave a little comment, say, hey, I think you'd be interested in winning a camera.
For example, we could say, you know, hey, at Chel May Bell. I always get that wrong. Chelsea, you know, that girl that keeps bothering me to make mention. So Chelsea. At Chel May Bell wants and I don't think she'd use a Nikon, to be honest, but you know what though?
Are people that brandest, really?
I am. You know what? This is going to sound terrible, and I know our good friend Julie at Nikon doesn't listen to this. I'm sure she doesn't. I hope to God she doesn't listen to this.
Oh, she's going to get tagged.
She's going to get tagged. But the East Coast trip I just got back from, I had everyone using Nikons. You know, I had that.
Yes, you did say Nikons. That. Yes.
3 of them have emailed me this week saying, hey, can you get us a price on the entire OMD digital kit that you had for us?
Yeah. Can you hook me up?
I've already sold 2, and I reckon the third one's coming in tomorrow. Yeah. So, and the biggest thing they said was weight. They just can't be bothered with the weight anymore. So
we've talked about this a lot, that the weight of these cameras, particularly for landscape and particularly for the older people amongst us who may not want to carry as much gear around. I get it. I totally get it. And, you know, they make lovely cameras. They're great cameras. No arguments out of me. Yeah.
So sorry, Julie, if you're watching.
I'm sure she'll talk to you about the new Z series cameras that are probably just as light and just as effective.
And for those who haven't understood what I've tried to say about Chelsea about 600 times in the last 2 podcasts, her handle is at Chel May Bell. Make sure you go check it out. She's only got 718 followers, but she's got some beautiful work on there. And yeah, she loves a shout out. It's
doesn't mind a shout out.
Oh, she loves it. And again, we probably haven't done it enough this episode, but we only have an hour.
That's right. True. This has been episode 41 of the Down South Photo Show. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. I guess unless Cam's got anything to add, which I ask you every week, and every week you say, no, that's enough.
Done now.
Get out there, get into your winter photography. If you've got any suggestions for what you might want to hear on the show, drop us a Dear Cam or drop us just anything and say, hey, like your show, don't like your show. Any suggestions are always welcome.
Just don't steal our photos.
We're watching you. We will see you for episode 42 of the Down South Photo Show next week. Goodbye, everyone.
Ciao.